Right. Good evening from here. It's the section 3 of ongoing class, the psychology of real estate sales, understanding buyer and seller motivations. My name once again is Ayorinde Samuel Fakunle. And in this particular class, I'm going to be taking us on the understanding the seller motivations. Understanding seller motivations. So let's go on. Uh, I'm going to be looking into emotional attachments, financial motivations, timing considerations, and lifestyle considerations. These are the four areas I'm going to be looking into in making us see how we can come to understand the seller, motivations. The first one is emotional attachment. We're going to be looking at how sellers' emotions connect or how sellers' emotional connections influence decisions to sell and price of selling. Now, in this particular class, what we are looking into is we want to put ourselves into the shoe of a seller who wants to sell a property. Because as an agent, as an agency, as an affiliate, you're going to be representing both the seller and the buyer. You're going to be representing two parties. As a realtor, you stand to represent the two parties, and you must be able to represent two parties well enough, to gain their trust. Now, sellers often have deep emotional ties to their properties, shaped by personal memories, milestones, or the time and effort invested in creating a home. And these connections can influence their decision making, into reluctance to sell or unrealistic price expectations. Now, as a realtor, it's very important that we acknowledge these emotions empathetically. You must show some measure of empathy in acknowledging, the what do I call it now? In acknowledging the seller's empathy, seller's emotions. There's nothing wrong in somebody being emotionally attached to what he owns. Some persons spent, years, spent their fortune. Some probably build their houses or bought some of those things when they don't have so much. And now to want to sell it out, you know, they can, that memory of, how they came about, buying the land, doing all those stuff, then can be a reason why, they can be having a pullback, and that can affect, their sell decision quite well. Now, you must understand strategies around this. The first thing I want to talk about is active listening. Now, there are strategies we use in showing that we truly value, a client or a seller's, emotions, emotional attachments to his property. The first thing is active listening. You must understand the seller's emotional journey and their reasons for selling. If you don't listen very well, you won't get that. It takes active listening to understand the seller's emotional journey and their reasons for selling. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is framing the transition. Now, as a realtor, it's very important that you're able to position the sale as a step toward a new, exciting chapter in their life. That means you are shifting them from where they are to where they should be. And you are doing that empathetically. You make them see, while this particular sale they're about to do is going to open, a new and exciting chapter in their life. And that goes a long way. The third thing, third strategy is highlighting value. Now, it's important to be able to showcase how their cherished property can bring joy and utility to the next owner, helping sellers find closure. Now, what am I saying? showcase, the importance, the value that this property they are selling is going to be adding to the, to the next owner, to the buyer, and letting them know that they are affecting life positively just by selling that property. Give them data, to see how that has been of help, in the past. If there is experiences, you have to show for that. Now, the next thing we'll talk about is financial motivations. Understanding sellers' financial goals and constraints. We've talked about emotional attachment. The second thing is financial motivations. Again, we're looking at sellers' motivations. What motivates sellers to want to sell their properties? We've talked about emotional attachment. Can be an hindrance, can be a reason why, that can influence their decisions. Second thing we're talking about is financial motivations, understanding sellers' financial goals and constraints. Now, financial objectives often drive sellers' decisions. They may aim to pay off debt, upgrade to a larger property, or invest in a new venture. Realtors should focus as a realtor in dealing with financial motivations. You must focus, number one, let's look at this. You must focus on these strategies. I listed 3 strategies also, in dealing with financial motivations. I listed 3 in dealing with emotional attachment. I'm also listing 3 in dealing with, financial motivations. Number 1 is analyze market trends. You must be able to provide sellers with data-driven insight to set competitive prices for their property. Secondly, you must identify value drivers. What are the value drivers? In this case, highlight unique features of the property to justify asking prices. You must be able to see what they are not seeing. There are unique features in properties that they might not have been able to see. You want to use that to identify value drivers. The third one is provide guidance. You must offer tailored advice on pricing strategies, such as whether to prioritize quick sales or maximize profits. If you are doing quick sales, of course, you can be sure that you won't get the best of the profit. But if they can be patient and they're not selling properties on distress, then they can maximize their profit, even though it might take a longer time, but they can maximize, their profit. Now, the third thing to consider in looking into sellers' motivations is timing considerations. Sellers' timing and urgency impact. So we're looking at what impact decisions of a seller: the emotional attachment, financial motivation, and the third one is timing considerations. Now, urgency levels vary. With some sellers needing to relocate quickly for work or family reasons, while others have more flexibilities. In recent times, we've seen properties selling at very ridiculous prices. We've seen properties that when we did evaluation at Correct, we valued the property to up to 15 million naira. But the person, because of the urgency of the moment, wants to sell it as low as 11 million naira. He just wants to cash out the money and japa. Because of the recent japa syndrome, a lot of persons have been selling their properties at very ridiculous prices. So that's some of the things that influence prices or influence decisions on selling can be timing considerations. Someone needs to catch up with a particular, maybe work, oversee, or for family reasons, or for health issues. Several things can influence people's decisions, to sell. So time consideration is one. Then let's look into strategies to undo, sellers' timing and urgency, how it impacts their decisions, how you can undo cases when the seller's timing and urgency is impacting their decisions. Now, urgency level varies, and like I said earlier, so we have number one. I'm going to talk about number one, access timelines. Access timelines. Determine the seller's preferred time frame and align marketing strategies accordingly. Ask the person, how many months do we have to put this property on the list. If he says, I have as soon as possible, then let him know that that's going to be affecting the price. We can put it on distress sale and run ads on it, and it will sell. You know. So the second one is promote flexible strategies. Suggest solutions like temporary leases to ease transitions. How about leasing this property out in the meantime temporarily while we are selling out? We are still catching out money while it's still selling, while we are looking for buyer, and that can work. You are promoting flexible strategies, for transition. The next one is communicate clearly. You must keep the sellers informed about expected market conditions to avoid surprises. Now, don't promise any seller that you're going to sell the property in a week when you don't have already buyer. So you must communicate clearly. Let them know the conditions. Let them know the whatever can influence those decisions and all of that. Now the fourth consideration is lifestyle considerations. Lifestyle consideration. We're going to look at how sellers' lifestyle impacts their selling decisions. Sellers' current and future lifestyle needs play a critical role. Empty nesters may downsize while growing families seek larger homes. An empty nesters may look at downsizing, and for that cause, he wants to sell to get a smaller apartment, while growing families can look at, maybe the need for a larger home. They can sell the smaller one for a larger home. So many things can influence lifestyle, can influence, decisions. Now, in dealing with this, when you notice that that is what is coming out from a particular seller, then there are strategies to look into. Number one is understand the particular motivations. Ask why the seller is moving and tailor the process to align with their goals. It's very important to understand, to be in the same page with your seller. Very important. You must be in the same page with your seller. The second thing to look into is position properties strategically. What do I mean by this? Highlight aspects of the property that align with the seller's lifestyle goals to attract like-minded buyers. Highlight aspects of the property that align with the seller's lifestyle goals, to attract like-minded, buyers. By so doing, you position properties strategically. So the next one is the role of emotions. That's section 4 actually of my class. The role of emotions in real estate sales. The role of emotions in real estate sales. In this presentation, I'll be having emotional intelligence, building rapport, and then we'll be talking about emotional triggers. The role of emotions in real estate sales. We're talking about emotional intelligence, building rapport, and emotional triggers. So going forward, emotional intelligence, the importance of empathy, understanding in real estate sales. Initially, when I was talking about emotional attachment of sellers to their property, I mentioned the importance of being able to show empathy. Don't show nonchalant attitude to a particular person's, motivations. Anybody has a right to what determines why he wants to sell his properties, or why he doesn't want to sell his properties, or why he wants to sell it at the particular price he is naming, for you. So you just have to be in their page, be in their shoe. It could be you also. So let's look at importance of empathy and understanding in real estate sales. Once again, the theme of this course is understanding the role of psychology in buyer and sellers' motivations. So we're looking at the first thing is real estate sales often require navigating complex emotions as buyers and sellers bring their hopes, fears, memories into the transaction. Everything, a man brings his whole life into his transaction. Somebody wants to buy as low as 180,000 Awoni land. If you look at how much of his life he brings into the transactions, you will wonder if he's buying more than Awoni land of 180,000 there actually. But you have to make him feel that way. You have to also be in his shoe, understand that this person That 180,000 might have been a whole year savings for that person. And he's looking at where he can best invest that thing that can yield results for him in years ahead. And that's very important. So the second thing is emotional intelligence helps realtors, address these emotions with empathy and professionalism. Emotional intelligence helps realtors address these emotions with empathy and professionalism. So we're looking at importance of empathy and understanding in real estate sales. Let's look at some strategies here. Number one is practice empathy. You must put yourself in the client's shoes to understand their perspective and concerns. You must put yourself in the client's shoes. So empathy is putting yourself in the client's shoes to understand their perspectives and concerns. Very important, actually. The second thing is manage emotions. You must stay calm and composed, especially during tense negotiations. One of the skills that I had to learn by practice in the real estate industry is emotional management. How to manage my emotions, particularly when it has to do with negotiations. And we are bringing their whole life into the business, into the transactions, as if, from your own end, it's as if, why is it this serious about this? But that's all he has gotten. And he has to put everything into it. So it's very important to stay calm and composed, especially during the tense negotiations. You have clients, I've seen clients that came to my office crying because he wants to sell a particular property. And she was crying. Her mom was in the hospital. She has spent all she has on that particular case. Now she wants to sell the land she has with us. And we're telling her that, okay, to sell your land with us, you have to pay, you have to do this, you have to do this. And the woman was crying profusely in my office. In the midst of the cry, why I can understand with her pains and all of that, certain strategies have to still be put in place so that I won't allow our emotions to override, what should be done normally. It's very important. While you show empathy, you must also be calm, manage your emotions. If he's crying and you're crying with her, she's crying, you're crying with her, then both of you will pour the whole thing away. Now, the third thing is building trust. You must demonstrate reliability and integrity to establish rapport. You must demonstrate reliability and integrity to establish rapport. It's very, very important. Very important. Very important. A practical example of this is, during a property, for instance, go for a property tour, and a seller grows emotional as they recount memories of raising their children in the home. A realtor who practices empathy might respond by acknowledging their feelings, saying, "It's clear how much you love and care you put into this home. Let's focus on finding a buyer who will appreciate it as much as you have appreciated it." This approach respects the seller's emotional connection and builds rapport at the same time. And that's very, very, very important. Very important. So the next thing is building rapport, strategies for establishing trust with clients. You want your client to trust you. And that's very important. We have one of the properties on our list since 2021. That property has been on our list. We've made several attempts at selling that property, but at the moment, we have not been able to sell it. And the particular owner, calls every now and then. At the time when his child wants to go to campus, go to university, he needed money seriously, he called. But at that time, we were able to sell it. We had to manage him, manage his emotion, assure him that we're giving the best effort into place to sell it. Properties are not as liquid as you will go to market to buy a phone or to sell a phone. I've seen properties that has been on the list for 20 years. Properties that has been on the list for 10 years. This one has been in our hands for past 3 years now. And up to today, we have not been able to sell it. The person still comes, as at today, now that I'm making this record, the person still calls me. And after he calls, I called him back, we talk, I explain things to him, make him see why we're doing what we are doing differently from what we have been doing before, because we're also making efforts to selling that property. Because we know if we sell it to, it's going to earn us a whole lot too. So we're also looking at better means to sell it. And I let him know how much we are putting in place to ensure that we sell that property. He wants to hear that. He wants to be sure that something is going on. So the trust and connection we are building with clients through personalized interactions, clear communication, and positive body language, goes a long way, goes a long way in helping to build, strong rapport with the person involved, the client involved. Now, strategies for establishing trust with clients. Strategies for establishing trust with client. Number one, personalized interactions. Use the client's name. One of the things that I learned in negotiation actually is communication skill. It's very important. When you personalize interaction, when you mention a person's name in an interaction, there's a way it rings bell in their heads. If you remember personal details, mention personal details, show genuine interest. So in personalized interactions, you use the client's name, remember personal details. If you can remember his birthday or a particular ceremony he has in that property when he was still using it before he wants to sell it, mention it. It shows how much you care. Show genuine interest. Very important. Number two, communicate effectively. In communication, you must maintain transparency in all communications and be responsive to questions. When they ask questions, respond to them genuinely. Communicate, transparently and be responsive to questions. Very important. Thirdly, use non-verbal cues. I have I've used this to the extent of, you want to take bike, for instance, you want to take a bike, you're going on a short distance, you want to take a bike, and then they're saying, okay, I want to pay this, I don't want to pay this. Putting your hand on the shoulder of a person goes a long way to, break some holes on the inside. If it's a young man, you're a man to man, holding his hand firmly, can go a long way in building some strong rapport. Holding his hand, holding the palm strongly, just firmly, holding it firmly. It's a way it builds a measure of trust. Look face to face. You can maintain eye contact and smile. It builds trust. It helps you to establish trust with your clients. Go extra mile with your clients. Go extra mile. Schedule meetings in an environment where they can be free to communicate themselves. Very important. So let's look at an example for this. I just try to do, practical examples of some of these things. A client expresses, for instance, frustration over a previous experience with an unresponsive agent. Maybe he has fallen into the hand of this, Babalata and co agents, and all that, and they are frustrated his life for a time. A realtor looking to rebuild now. I just mentioned that there's between an agent and a realtor. Maybe in subsequent classes I'll differentiate that. We are not an agent. Correct is not an agent. We are agency, but we are not an agent. We are an agency. It means we run, we run an interaction in between clients, in between a seller and a buyer. For instance, in this case, a realtor looking to rebuild trust could assure them by setting clear expectations, such as daily updates on progress and prompt responses to inquiries. This proactive communication demonstrates reliability and rebuilds the client's confidence. I've had experiences with this in several times. I've had somebody who, bought land with a company and they treated him in a way he didn't want to remember that entire experiences again. When he came to me and narrate the whole story, I had to, build a measure of assurance in his heart. I clarify all his doubts because Many people feel all sellers of lands are like the ones they met. We have to let him know track records we've had, people we've had experiences with, show him some of the results we've had, all of that, just to build confidence and to build trust. It's very important. You need the trust of your clients. You need the trust of whoever you are representing in a deal. Very important. Very, very important. You can build trust to a point whereby you are positioning yourself for the next time that person wants to buy any land, he will call you by default because you are positioning yourself. Very important. So the last part of this class we have to do with emotional triggers. We look at how to identify and leverage emotional triggers in sales conversations. How to identify and leverage emotional triggers in sales conversations. Now, real estate decisions are often driven by emotions like security, pride, or status. I talked about this during our last class. Realtors should, number one, you should identify, number one, identify key triggers. Very important. Ask probing questions to uncover what matters most to clients, e.g., family, safety, aesthetic appeals. Ask questions. Ask, key trigger, uh, uh, key triggering questions. Ask probing questions. Ask them, okay, what exactly is going on with your family, sir? Is this something you can share with us? It helps you to position yourself in a way that we are leveraging the emotional triggers in sales conversations eventually. The second thing is tailor presentations. Focus on features that resonate emotionally, such as a garden for a family-oriented buyer or a state-of-the-art kitchen for a culinary enthusiast. Or, for instance, a tech hub nearby for somebody who is looking at, building a house, with a tech innovations and all of that. Then the third thing is use storytelling. Paint vivid pictures of life in the property to create an emotional connection. Use storytelling. You can paint vivid pictures. Be in the house ahead of them. Go into the house, see them in the house, see them already, residing in that house. And then, use storytelling, build big pictures. Let them see their children playing in the playground. Let them see themselves in the sitting room. Even though the house is not yet completed, let them see themselves in the sitting room. Let them see the size of the what's it called, of the bedroom, of the kitchen. Just paint pictures that convert. Very important. So there's an example here. A young tech entrepreneur in Lagos expresses interest in a modern apartment in Victoria Island. As a realtor, you emphasize the apartment's smart home features, proximity to tech hubs, prestigious address, connecting it to the client aspirations for innovation and professional recognition. Very important. That's just one. You can also look at maybe a middle-aged couple in Abuja is anxious about safety. The realtor emphasizes the gated community, 24/7 armed security, CCTV surveillance in the estate while sharing stories of other satisfied residents, tapping into their emotional need for safety and peace of mind. Share with them nearness to police stations, nearness to, if in the barrack and all of that. It goes along. You notice that some of these little things goes a long way determining people's emotions. Then let's look at another one. Is this a first-time buyer in Ibadan hesitates while viewing an affordable duplex? The realtor evokes an emotional response by narrating how owning the property ensures stability and a legacy for their family, appealing to the Nigerian cultural emphasis on property ownership as a milestone of success. In Nigeria, property ownership is not just a function of need. It is a cultural, milestone. It's a milestone. Having a home at 40 is a lot of pride. It contributes a lot of pride to the person's success. And so these things are very important, and I believe strongly that practicing this thing will position you as a go-to realtor for your clients. You are rightly position yourself to be the person that the person reaches out to when next he has, a sale, or when next he has a buy to do. Very important. Thank you very much. We'll continue the next class by tomorrow by God's grace. And I believe it's going to be a great time again. Thank you so much. I really desire, that one of these classes will have a one-on-one interaction. I'm still working towards it, looking at my schedules. Maybe Thursday, as the case may be, look into possibility of having a one-on-one class. Thank you very much. Reach out to me on your feedbacks, your questions. I'll be glad to answer your questions as much as possible. Thank you very much. God bless.